When you look at this new price sign on the home for sale behind me, it makes you think that it may still be difficult for some to get out of a home what they purchased it for in the past 7 years. But when I spoke with the Board of Realtors president, he said the short answer to the question is yes, you can expect an increase in your home's value. The businesses and leaders I spoke with today say it's a little too early to tell whether the games will meet economic expectations, but the overall consensus was positive. A spokesman for one hotel told me the games will help make this their best July ever. You won't believe where technology that you typically see in the movies is showing up these days, in your local daycare. We found a center in Mason that's using state-of-the-art biometric security measures to make sure your children are as safe as possible. The shelter system locally can meet the demand, but there are times of the year when they can't. There are 229 beds for families in Hamilton County. Also, families may be doubled up, living with friends and other family, so they're a difficult group to count. Carol, there are long lines of people and cars queuing up around the Chick-fil-A in Florence. Now this Friday, proponents of same-sex marriage plan kiss-ins at the more than 1,600 Chick-fil-A locations nationwide. Brandi Smith, 9 News, live in Florence. The answer to the question of how many people are homeless will differ depending on who you ask and their definition of homelessness. And money to help people ties back to the definition. But behind the red tape, there are real people who know all too well the true meaning of the word.
Linda York works second shift at the Travelodge in Newport.
Good afternoon. Thank you for calling Travelodge. This is Linda. May I help you?
Last summer, the hotel doubled as home for Linda and her 3 children.
It was hard. 3 months of living in a hotel is not fun.
Linda says the Brighton Center in Covington helped her when no one else would.
I actually fell on hard times. Got with somebody who I really shouldn't have been with. He doesn't have children of his own, so I have 3, which was kind of a problem. We was together for 2 years, and then he just decided he didn't like kids. So we ended up getting into it when he told me to leave, and I went and stayed at the hotel I work for.
The Brighton Center was able to help Linda through federal dollars from the Recovery Act.
I stayed depressed a lot, and because of my depression, they stayed depressed. So they kind of did everything to cheer me. I have the best kids ever. So they did everything that they could to cheer me on and cheer me up. And it was hard living in 2 rooms. These rooms aren't very big. And I learned how to cook everything through a microwave. Everything. If it can be cooked, I cooked it in a microwave.
Barbara Duffield of the National Association for the Education of Homeless Children and Youth says HUD's homeless definition should be the same as the Department of Education's, which includes children who are doubled up, meaning they're staying with friends or relatives because they can't afford a place of their own or living in a motel.
When the Department of Housing and Urban Development announces, as it did in December last month, that family homelessness was down 2%, but public schools saw that homelessness was up 20%, it creates a big problem. It makes it look like one agency says homelessness is going down, but the reality is more and more children, families, and youth don't have their own place to stay. So the difference between definitions is very problematic.
HUD recently updated their definition to get closer to the Department of Education's definition to help serve more people like Linda who are in imminent risk of being homeless. But when they count the homeless, they're only counting the unsheltered or street homeless population and those occupying beds in emergency shelters and transitional housing programs. Josh Spring of the Greater Cincinnati Homeless Coalition.
If they did count accurately, the numbers would be much bigger than they're showing now, and they would therefore invoke more responsibility, and it would show the truth of how bad we're doing.
Federal dollars from the Recovery Act will expire mid-year. However, HUD says there will be more money made available, just a lot less money than the original grant from 2009. As a result, local officials say we could see a significant rise in homelessness for both families and individuals.
If I could hit the lottery and win millions of dollars, I would open just a big, huge shelter that's kind of like apartments for homeless men and women, whether they have kids or not, because it's horrible. I wouldn't want to do it again, ever again. And I don't like seeing people go through it.
Officials from the National Association for the Education of Homeless Children and Youth say one of their biggest concerns is the number of younger children experiencing homelessness. 53% of children living in federally funded shelters are under the age of 6. Clyde and Carol? Yes, Tanya, you're about to hear from a Northern Kentucky family with an incredible spirit and attitude considering all that they've been through.
Brianna Wood couldn't wait to feel the fresh air and sunlight on her face. Life's simplest pleasures became new again.
On August 6th, an SUV hit her head on. And now, 3 weeks later, she's talking and dreaming.
Oh, I got so much food on my mind, spaghetti and breadsticks and pizza and cereal, Chipotle, Frisch's, it goes on and on. That's all I think about 50% of the day. It's just food that I want to eat.
Brianna's not angry at the person who struck her, causing severe head trauma and multiple facial fractures. All she can think about is returning to Eastern Kentucky University, where she'll be a sophomore, and food.
I just can't wait to eat. I just want to eat food instead of drinking drinks.
It's the day before Brianna's to go home. She and her mother, Nancy, credit all the cards from friends and family, this special journal, and all the texts and Facebook posts for her quick recovery.
It's been amazing, and very thankful that we've crossed a lot of paths and have received a lot of prayers and notes and well wishes and comfort from everybody. That energy and the prayers and the thoughts that have come to her have definitely got us to where we are right now.
When Nancy returns to work full-time at the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet promoting safety and educating people about distracted driving, it's a job she'll do with an entirely new perspective.
But yeah, it was a little bit ironic because several of my coworkers even said, wow, it happened. And I've always had that gut feeling that I hope I never had to experience that. But in a way, it's been a good experience because she's alive.
Brianna still has several weeks of recovery and speech therapy ahead before she returns to Eastern Kentucky University in January. Tanya and Clyde?